What use is there staying up until 11, 12, 1 a.m. on your social media channel of choice, consuming news while sat on the couch and stress eating at the same time? Coach, I can only imagine how insane it must be living in the US right now. Like with all of the fucking horrendous, terrifying, generally fucked up shit happening. It's interesting times we're living in right now, to say the least. And even the word interesting isn't really appropriate, right? Terrifying times is maybe a little bit more accurate, which to me means it is just as important, if not more important right now, to continue to focus on your health, on your fitness, on your mental, emotional health, as well as physical health. And you were telling me just before we started recording, Coach, that you'd written something. Do you want to read that out?
Yeah, sure. So it ended up, I just had a thought, and like yourself, I'm sure the times you just write things like a journal entry of sorts. And I thought about sort of current events and how this all hashes out. And a lot of this stuff takes our power from us when it comes to the decisions we can make, or influences us in ways that maybe are influenced by external actions that are happening, all these things that are sensitive to. So this is what I came up with. What if most conspiracy theories aren't about truth? They are just desire in disguise. Desire to feel smarter, the desire to feel in control, the desire to explain why life feels off without having to look in the mirror. Everyone online is like, the system is rigged. They don't want you to know this. The elites are doing that. Cool. But did you drink water today? Did you move your body? Did you regulate your nervous system, or did you just wing life and stress and call it ambition? The part that no one wants to hear is that if people were pulling strings behind your back, do you really think that you would crack that code at like 1:47 in the morning on TikTok with blue light frying your brain? People are playing chess and you're playing notifications. Most of these truths aren't enlightenment. They're distractions we dress up as wisdom. A mental merry-go-round that keeps you busy thinking about the world so you never have to build yourself. Because when you're dysregulated, exhausted, unfocused, any narrative can hijack you. But when you're grounded mentally, physically, and emotionally, no algorithm, headline, no public villain can steal your agency. The real power mood isn't decoding the outside world. It's becoming so regulated, strong, and clear that nothing outside you gets to run your life. When you act like the architect of your own system, someone else doesn't have to fill that role for you.
I like that, Coach. Very interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah. Something that I was thinking earlier on is, what use is there staying up until 11, 12, 1 a.m. on your social media channel of choice, consuming news while sat on the couch and stress eating at the same time? Like, what use is that? Aside from temporarily numbing yourself. That's essentially what that is. That's distraction. Or you could go to bed, wake up early, get in your walking pad, get on your exercise bike, and in that much better frame of mind, do your news consumption. Because we're at a point now where I try to avoid the news in general. And at the same time, first of all, you can't. And it's also extremely debatable whether that's a good thing to do right now. Yeah. You basically, you have to stay informed right now. And the problem is that staying informed, as we're seeing recently, is extremely stressful. It's like it's a net negative on your mental health. Now, that's not to say that you got to stop consuming the news, of course. It's though not the solution, but a way of doing this in a way that's going to have minimal impact, minimal negative impact is, as I said, to do it in a better frame of mind, like not lasting at night. Make a cutoff, get up early, do it then while you're getting some movement in. And it's also, this might sound harsh, but you can't use it as an excuse to stop working out, to stop getting movement in, to stop focusing on your healthy food choices. Hey, Daniel here. I just wanted to jump in and expand on something that I just said. So I just said that you can't use what's happening as an excuse to stop focusing on yourself, on your health, on your habits. Now, what I didn't do a good enough job with on this episode was to be as nuanced as I like to be. So what I should have said was that it's completely 100% understandable that these events may have thrown you off track, that you may have spent the last week or so or longer not focusing on your workouts, not going for walks, not eating as healthy as you'd like to. It makes sense that you would be temporarily knocked off track. And at the same time, you can't stay off track. It is important that you get back to your healthy habits in some capacity. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add, just to add that nuance, because I don't want anybody to feel ashamed, to feel guilty about having fallen off track. It happens to us all. Okay, back to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Now is not the time to allow yourself to become physically weaker. If you have control over that, that is. Like if somebody has medical conditions, okay, we're not talking about that. But if you have the ability to work out, if you can choose to make the time to make that happen, you're going to be more effective. Again, to take the example of you staying up until 1 a.m. on the couch, on social media, stress eating, and just consuming news in that way. What is going to lead to you being a more effective person right now? Is it going to be you doing that? Or is it going to be you waking up early after having the best possible night of sleep that you can manage, and while doing another physically healthy habit, consuming the news, thinking things through? Like that's a complete same information that's being consumed, just in a completely different way.
Yeah, I think what you're referencing is what state are you taking that information in, especially
Absolutely.
with to pair off of what you're mentioning here. It's about quality of life. And when you think of it from a physiological perspective as well, just to try to make it a little bit more about on the biological side of things too. You're at the end of your day, you're exhausted, and you've already had a full day of work. Maybe you've had some trouble with the kids, or there's someone sick, etc. So your brain is already in high regulation. You're stressed, and not in a positive stress way. And now you're consuming this information that's not positive, that further narrows your window of being able to be present, creative, all these things that end up lending itself to having a higher quality of life, a more positive quality of life. And like you mentioned, we're not trying to be ignorant to the circumstances so much as how do we do a thing like consuming the news when it's most favorable for us to look at it from a very objective place? Of course, it's going to evoke emotion. That's what it's supposed to do, right? That's how we stay tied into the system of it.
What's happening now is just going to invoke emotion, like however you consume the news right now.
Yeah. And along with that, of course, there's terrible things going on. So you should feel an emotion from it.
Yeah.
At the same time, being able to consume it in a way where you're in the best state to be able to consume that in a way that won't negatively affect you is most important. This is to draw a parallel. You don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry, because then you know what happens. You go when you feel like, okay, I state of mind, I go with a list, I know what I'm doing, here's what I'm looking for, etc. Maybe you grab one or two extra things. Maybe that's the odd video in between the other videos you're watching about whatever.
Yeah.
At the same time, we don't want it reducing our quality of life